If you hold your stock in GB, you're going to have duties and tariffs into Europe and Ireland. If you hold your stock in Ireland, you're going to have duties and tariffs into GB. If you hold your stock in Northern Ireland, you can access GB, Ireland and EU with 0 tariffs. It's understanding that lowest cost isn't actually the lowest cost. So finding a partner that understands your business and your industry and your product lines, and has a fulfillment set up specific for you and your category is crucial. It's the partnership that matters. It's how much time are they giving you, sitting down, having one-to-ones on what are your plans for the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. They don't want UPS to land on their doorstep and hold their hand out. That's a terrible brand experience. Today we're talking about smart fulfillment, and we've got 7 insights for you to review how to actually get a competitive edge in today's ever-evolving, world getting larger landscape. I'm Stephen Henderson, CEO of SJ Henderson Fulfilment, a 3PL logistics provider based in Northern Ireland, enabling cross-border fulfillment for over 70 businesses. Number 1 is the world feels bigger again. The world's starting to feel bigger and bigger as the days, weeks and months go by. Not too many years ago, e-commerce enabled businesses to access a multitude of marketplaces with ease. And now de minimis aid removals and new restrictions and legislation are making the world feel much bigger. And that's whenever smart fulfillment comes in. It's a reviewing process of your supply chain. It's to simplify your supply chain, review where your goods are manufactured, and actually identifying the key partners for your business, not based on price, but based on the correct strategic move for your business and your objectives. Number 2 is fulfillment is no longer just pick, pack, and post. So fulfillment can go one or two ways. It can go really good or it can go really bad. And it's all to do with choosing that right partner, as I was discussing. You can go for the cheapest option, but often that usually ends up costing you more. There will be hidden costs around chasing orders, return expectations not being met. If somebody is selling their services cheap, you can expect a lower quality service. In terms of actually getting a good fulfillment provider and what that looks like in today's world, well, it's actually a partnership for your business. And it's not just the pick, pack and post. It's the actual discussion on your growth strategy, where they can come in as your fulfillment partner and enabling your growth to take place. It's talking about your supply chain. It's talking about where your goods are manufactured and discussing maybe adjusting that to enable you the lowest landed cost for your goods. So finding a partner that understands your business and your industry and your product lines, and has a fulfillment set up specific for you and your category is crucial, because pick, pack and post no longer meets the requirements for the end customer. The end customer absolutely will know if you have a good fulfillment company or a bad fulfillment company. If you have a bad fulfillment company, they'll feel it. If you have a good fulfillment company, it'll be seamless and your customer will get the authentic, true brand experience that you are seeking. So if you're looking to build a brand, choosing the right fulfillment partner matters more now than ever. Number 3, location is now part of the strategy. Smart fulfillment also considers location, and that's, for me, probably one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle for your business as you review this with your team. What side of the Atlantic Ocean you place your product and what side of the Irish Sea you place your product matters massively for USA fulfillment and European fulfillment. And I'm including UK in that as well. Looking at the American side of fulfillment, if you store your goods in Northern Ireland, Ireland, UK, Europe, shipping into the States, there's a range of considerations when it comes to duties now. And if you hold it in America, you need to consider, obviously, the additional inventory you're going to have to hold. That is something that everybody who's looking to sell in North America has to consider today and do those calculations and figure that out. Which side of the Atlantic Ocean are you going to place your stock for that marketplace? Which side of the Irish Sea is to do with cross-border fulfillment within UK, Ireland and Europe. If you hold your stock in GB, you're going to have duties and tariffs into Europe and Ireland. If you hold your stock in Ireland, you're going to have duties and tariffs into GB. If you hold your stock in Northern Ireland, you can access GB, Ireland and EU with 0 tariffs. So that's the Northern Ireland strategic advantage that many still don't know about, and that's why I'm always talking about it, because it may be the right decision for you and it may not, but you need to understand what's available for your business, where to place your inventory, and it could be you decide to hold it in Northern Ireland and GB and EU. But Northern Ireland is a unique new angle that's only come to the fore in the past number of years. And so we're talking about that. Which side of the IRC is best for you to place your inventory? A good fulfillment partner that you have chosen will guide you through that process, where that you hold your inventory based on your sales data. Hopefully they'll not be guiding you to say bring it all to themselves. They'll be looking at it holistically and going, okay, actually it looks like your product is best placed here and here, even if it's not advantageous for them as a fulfillment partner. They should be looking out for you and your business, your growth strategy, and advising on that, because at the end of the day, that's what matters most, and that's why you're having that conversation, and that's why the right fulfillment partner is critical for you. Number 4, growth can actually hide the real problem. So growth is a really exciting word. It's a really great exciting phase for any business to be in, but it comes with its complexities, its pain points, and sometimes more locations, more revenue can actually cost more than create more profit. More revenue doesn't actually mean more profit more often than not. And that's where a simplification of supply chains and locations is crucial during growth. When you're reviewing your landscape and growth, you might be thinking, I'm selling more in certain marketplaces, therefore my stock should be held there. And that is a good question to have, but it should be a question and not a statement. Because if you are selling a lot in the GB in Europe, you have 2 stockhold inventories, you should be reviewing the Northern Ireland advantage. You should be reviewing, is there actually specific product for those marketplaces that I should be supplying only there and not in both marketplaces? There's a multitude of aspects to cover in your reviewing of your supply chain and your location placement across those marketplaces. Recently, we've onboarded a client, an American company, who have multiple sites in GB in Europe. And after multiple discussions together, they've actually decided to close all of them down and hold everything in Northern Ireland in one location. And that's saving them significant money in terms of the stock they have to buy in, the actual time it takes to manage those other locations in those key marketplaces. And with all that in mind, they made that call whenever they reviewed the landscape together with us. That might be the right call for you, it may not, but it's something to consider as you scale your business. You want to also simplify your operations as much as you can. Number 5, cross-border selling is actually more complicated. So the cross-border experience matters a lot to your customer today. They don't want to have any complications. They don't want UPS to land on their doorstep and hold their hand out, looking money before they receive the parcel because duties are unpaid, and that's unexpected. That's a terrible brand experience, and it affects their view on your business and reflects your brand. So with that, that's where serious consideration comes into cross-border fulfillment in these days. As I started this episode, I discussed about the world getting larger and larger. And with that, we do know about the EU's new removal of the de minimis allowance into the EU from 1st of July 2026, which means over 90% of the parcels moving into the EU from the 1st of July will be affected by that. And there will be duties payable on those deliveries to the doorstep if the actual business sending them doesn't pay for the duties themselves. So it's important to be proactive today and not reactive. Those that are proactive will win. Those that are reactive will feel the pain, and it will damage the brand reputation. Number 6, cheap fulfillment can actually be expensive. So when it comes to pricing and looking at different 3PLs, interestingly enough, most 3PLs price their operations entirely different. It becomes difficult for brand owners, e-commerce owners to actually review like-for-like comparisons. We're aware of that, and we here try to simplify it as much as we can. But due to the nature of the business, there's a lot of moving parts. They need to have a cost or revenue attributed. With that in mind, it's really important to understand that the lowest cost isn't necessarily the lowest cost. When you start working with a new 3PL or fulfillment provider, yes, your initial invoices might be lower than you previously were paying, or lower than a competitor who was quoting. But it's the service that matters. It's the partnership that matters. It's how much time are they giving you, sitting down, having one-to-ones on what are your plans for the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months? What's your SKU catalogue look like? How do we simplify that for ease of inbound and outbound? Do you have all your commodity codes in place for cross-border trade? Do you understand that actually manufacturing your goods in Europe in today's world is a competitive advantage as opposed to the Far East? Things like that, all that needs to be considered. As I've mentioned, pick, pack and post is not the 3 core areas of fulfillment anymore. Partnership is a massive play, and you need to understand and see that. It's almost as if your 3PL, your fulfillment partner, is part of your organizational chart. They should be ingrained in your business. You should be treating them as an employee, a team member, having discussions, developing that relationship into a really strong and powerful collaboration. Number 7, fulfillment should actually give founders freedom. I was once talking to a CEO of a growing business, and he said to me jokingly, I've always wanted to be a firefighter and now I am. And we laughed about it, but actually it was so true to where he was, and it's so true for so many CEOs and leaders in business. I feel like firefighters, you're always going to the biggest fire and trying to put that out. That conversation has remained in my head for many years. And it's always been interesting to me because it didn't sit right. It didn't feel right that this guy was growing his business and just felt like he was just putting out fires all the time. He should have the freedom to actually go and apply his knowledge, his expertise, his managerial leverage to grow his business and enable his team to be the best they can be. And over the past number of years, we developed that into our vision, not from that conversation, but from who we are and why we exist. It's to give businesses the freedom to grow, to give business leaders the freedom to grow. And my belief is that is what a fulfillment company should stand for, is to enable leaders, to enable businesses and brands the freedom to grow. They shouldn't be firefighting, they shouldn't be restricted, they shouldn't be chasing, where's this order, why is this not booked in yet, all that good stuff. They should be focusing on the next year, the next 5 years, because they know they have a partner handling their logistics, handling their supply chain, advising them proactively of changes coming around the corner so as they can stay ahead of the competition. That is the core of smart fulfillment, and that's something I believe you should really drill into today. The big takeaway from today's episode is to look at your fulfillment strategy and your growth strategy in tandem, combine them together, and understand that choosing the right fulfillment provider, the right fulfillment partner, it's a partnership. It's understanding that the lowest cost isn't actually the lowest cost. It's understanding that your values should align with your fulfillment partner because they will be embedded in your organization. Looking at them as a team member and someone as part of your organizational chart, and enabling them to give you the freedom to grow. That's why your fulfillment provider should exist. That's why we exist. And it's an exciting day and age for e-commerce brands because there's so much change that creates so much opportunity. But only those who think beyond pick, pack and post when it comes to fulfillment will scale and grow beyond their competition and actually give their own people the freedom to grow in their organization. So we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Freedom to Grow. Please do like, share and subscribe if you haven't already, so as you get the next episode as soon as it's released. Thank you so much.